What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. We are back at it with another voiceover video. I admittedly have not gotten a new Rode mic yet. I can't tell you where I placed my transmitter, but I cannot find it. And I've been really busy, so I've not sat down to get a new one, but nonetheless, we are back with another video, and today I am announcing that I found a meet. I will be competing this year as a 93 for the first time legitimately. Now, what meet is that, you may ask? I am doing the Atlanta Primetime meet November 21st, obviously in Atlanta, as the name indicates. And I'm sure I'm going to have people ask, like, why am I doing this meet in particular? Well, I was invited to the Avances Houston meet, and while I would have loved to have done that meet, I don't think that it would have been the most prudent decision for a couple reasons. So the first thing is you can get FOMO when it comes to big meets, right? You get invited to a meet that maybe feels like this is a cool exhibition, not necessarily a once in a lifetime, but only so many in a lifetime that you get. And I made that mistake last year with SBD Austin, where I really wanted to do a meet that I was not prepared for, forced through an injury, and then it put me in a position to make it very easy to say, yeah, I'm not going to do nationals. And I think we definitely could have been in a position, had we been healthy, to maybe ruffled up the outcome of nationals based on how training was going prior to prepping for SBD Austin. But at any rate, things went how they went. And this time around, I really want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence in building muscle, spending time in this tissue building phase. And if I were to do a meet in the beginning of October, I would have to call that phase short, which just wouldn't make sense. So the end of November is kind of this sweet spot where it'll give me enough time to finish up this hypertrophy phase, which will be about 4 months worth of training, and then transition, while keeping some of the hypertrophy movements that we think we can keep, to transition to more comp specific work, which has been on the back burner lately. Frequency on all 3 lifts has been down from not even all-time most aggressive numbers, but even just sustainable numbers. So I'm going to take a break here. I'll talk about this set right here that you guys are about to watch. It's 585 for a triple. In all honesty, I am pretty displeased with how it moved. Center of mass management did not feel the best, and I'm having a lot of difficulty not maintaining the bar whip, but just actually trusting the legs. And it's certainly gotten better, but I think this has just been an issue, a twofold issue really, switching back to the soft sleeves over the past several months, not really feeling like I can drive my knees forward as aggressively, and then 2, just dealing with the leverage changes. You know, people think typically, okay, I'm gaining weight, therefore I'm automatically going to be better, but I am a superstitious person, and I never change how tight I wear my belt. Like, there are times where my belt is going to feel slightly looser. There are times where it's going to feel slightly tighter. And regardless, I've always worn it at the same notch. And that's been something I've done all the years of competing. Maybe there have been times where it's helped, sometimes where it's hurt. Nonetheless, that's kind of what I've stuck with. But obviously now, being a 200-pound individual, to give you guys an idea, I woke up this morning at about 91 kilos. So we are sitting at that 200-pound mark finally. My leverages are different. They are unquestionably different now. And I think once I feel like I truly cannot wear my belt at the same notch where I was wearing it when I was in the upper 180s, then I will make the switch. But right now, I've just been kind of wearing it lower at the same notch. It's felt more comfortable wearing the belt lower than wearing it higher where I used to. I don't know if that's simply because of the tightness or if that's just because I feel better with a lower belt when I have more stomach mass. But that remains to be seen, I guess. So overall, need to clean up squats. I think a lot of the submaximal technique work I'm doing will help. But anyway, we're going to move on into hack squats here. And you guys obviously saw in previous videos the 50 rep sets. You've seen probably on Instagram my 40 rep set with 4 plates when I was over in Austria. But lately, I'm not diagnosed with this yet, but I am all but certain this is the case. I believe that I have either developed or really exacerbated SIBO, like some kind of small intestine bacterial overgrowth that has really prevented me from being able to eat a lot of the foods that I would typically eat. I'm basically unable to stomach any fruits, vegetables, or fiber. The only fruit source I am even able to consume without severe stomach pain is orange juice and guava juice. and that's because they don't have a ton of excess fructose, so they seem to be digestible. It's also liquid, so more easily digestible anyway. Whether or not that's still causing issues kind of under the surface that I can't feel, I'm not sure yet. But my diet has basically been comprised of a lot of fat, either from dairy, meat, eggs, or olive oil. Sugar, like straight up sugar. If it's not from the fruit juice, it's coming from straight up table sugar or sugar added to like ice cream. I felt okay, but it's certainly impacting my endurance, my energy levels. I would say like top end strength has not been affected, but I can't push for longer sets in the same way just because of how I've been feeling. And obviously you guys see here, I did not do a set of 40. So what I did to try to like mimic the same exertion was to just tempo and pause here. And this certainly made it harder. I don't think that I would have been that much better even prior to these symptoms sort of arising, but pray for me that we figure out an answer here, getting a microbiome test result back fairly soon, and then hopefully can take some steps in the right direction, whether that's antibiotics, whether that's some kind of holistic medication. I don't really know yet, but nonetheless, we persevere. So moving on to these Bulgarian split squats, we've been starting to push these a bit heavier, and the burn is certainly there, but I'm definitely coming to realize, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier on in the video, that there are going to be certain movements that are like mainstays that will probably stick around in my programming in some way or form, even as we begin to push the main lifts a bit harder. And Bulgarians are not one of them. They don't really provide the same kind of stimulus, ability to exert myself as like the single leg press, which you'll see later on in this video. And as I've gone heavier with them, I just don't actually feel like I'm doing as much. Like it's a weird thing to say. I'm not using soreness as the sole proxy, but I legitimately feel like I can load my hips better when the weight was lighter. So these are, I think, 90-pound dumbbells. When I was using 70s, I felt, even though it's undoubtedly less stimulus, I felt like I could actually load my hips better. So going forward, the movements that will probably be mainstays as accessories will be the belt squat, the single leg press, and probably a leg extension as like the quad movements that we do. What I'd really like to see is for these to stay in. So I'm obviously doing barbell RDLs here with 455 pounds. I decided to do this set beltless. I had done all my previous sets with a belt this day and was like, I've been doing 405 beltless for weeks now. I haven't really progressed these much. Granted, you could easily argue, hey, just add a 5, add a 10. Like you can easily be making progress on these. But there's no reason percentage-wise with how strong my pull is that I shouldn't be able to add the 25. And in all honesty, these were not that great. I am not very good at RDLs. I can do them well on a belt squat, but with a barbell, my low back just gets tugged on. Like it's very difficult for me to... Oh, look at that. My wife just texted me. That's the ping you heard, or probably heard. I don't know. So that's a weak point to definitely bring up. So we'll see how that trends. If Marcellus wants to keep that in, I'm not quite sure. As we start to progress deadlifts back, maybe stiff legs make a return. We'll find out. Okay, so we're into the next day here. These are the block presses I've been doing. Now, I'm not loving the block presses. Like, they're fun. You get to load some heavy weight. It's fine. But I do really love this day. This workout as a whole is really enjoyable. So you guys just saw 465 for 4. That was incredibly difficult. And frankly, if I'm comparing to like my all-time best strength just on comp bench in this sinking arc that we've been in, I think it's still a far cry, and I'm okay with that. I'm not coping, I swear, because I've been just benching significantly less. I am doing comp bench 4 out of every 8 days as compared to 6 out of every 7. That is a significant reduction, and it's been for the sake of doing more hypertrophy. And within this session, you will notice some pretty heavy duty tricep work, really pushing things to failure. And I think that there's been a lot of arm growth this period, which has been good. I think I do need stronger triceps, especially if I am going to be sinking. With that said, I definitely feel like my pecs are maybe over recovered. by virtue of not benching as often, as well as just not doing maybe as much chest hypertrophy as I can recover from. So that's a conversation Marcellus and I already had, maybe incorporating a second day of dips, maybe just doing some kind of machine pressing, but definitely have room for more. And I'm excited to go back to just more benching. So as you guys can see here, we're doing JM presses with a 45 and a 25. I'm not going to quantify how much I think this is. I don't care how much the bar weighs. I just use the same machine every week. And if I'm adding more weight or doing more reps, then I'm making progress, right? And I remember I had started off this movement. I think I was only able to do one plate for 12. I think that was the most I was able to get. And to be able to do, a 25 for more than that while already having done sets beforehand with this same weight is a huge moment of progress. Obviously, you guys see me doing my forced reps here, basically just doing JM negatives to the degree that I can. It truly does feel like my triceps are giving out on me when I'm doing this movement, so I know I am taking it to failure. And in terms of joint health, doing it on the Smith machine and just giving yourself that little bit of low incline is actually really joint friendly. I spent a good amount of time just warming this pattern up. Like I'll do sets with a 25 for like 15 to 20 just to get blood flow, because it is a weird position for the elbows if you're not used to it. And I think that's something that is just underrated. Like people don't do high rep warm up sets anymore. I don't know why. It's kind of like getting on a stationary bike, right? It's just like, it's very movement specific blood flow, and sometimes you need that. So we did a second all out set here. Just trying to do progressively more volume, especially since I'm in a period of gaining weight. Volume is a lever that you have the freedom to pull more often when you're in a surplus, so we might as well be taking advantage of it, especially if we ever do get to the point where all hypertrophy movements take a back seat. And just based on my bench history, unfortunately, that's kind of been the case. I hope that's not the case this time around, because then that would mean I don't get to enjoy these movements. But my best benching has come historically amidst just doing comp bench, doing Larson, and really in this sinking period, just doing some dips. That's really the extent of it. So we move on to these tricep pushdowns here. I know that a rope is not necessarily the most efficient, attachment to use, but what I've really noticed is that one, my elbows have been healthy, which in the past, pushing tricep work has not always been the most elbow-friendly thing for me. But what I get is this really complete attack of the triceps, where the inner tricep feels absolutely demolished by the JM presses, and then that outer tricep is crushed by the rope presses. So I'm really happy to keep these in. And I think that's important, right? Just finding a sequence that you can progress, finding a sequence that feels like it completely addresses the muscular deficits you're looking to address, and just move forward with that. So I've really enjoyed that. Hopefully we can keep those in. Moving on now to these barbell rows. Back work has been interesting lately because, I've historically not done a lot of barbell rowing. I've done a lot of machine work. Yet the vertical pulling movements I've been doing lately, which I've always done, right? I've always done a ton of pull down related movements, have been progressing significantly. Yet the barbell rowing, which is novel, has not really been budging. So I'm not really sure what's there. I don't know if that just means I should sub it out, but I'm going to finish up this block and we'll make a decision from there. So finally moving on into day 3 of this video. This was my secondary squat. Legs were pretty smoked coming into this session, but in all honesty, I am way more pleased with this session than I was the previous squat session, the primary. I feel like my positioning was much more stacked on this day. I feel like I was controlling the whip even better. I feel like I was trusting the legs better. And, I didn't load 585 on this day, but I feel like if I did, it probably would have moved better. So just an interesting, testament to the fact that the skill acquisition part of squat is kind of understimulated, and just each squat session that I do is just getting me closer to higher efficiency, rather than being in this like homeostasis where like every primary is just going to feel better than the secondary. I think you need to understand where you're at in those two camps at any point in training. So I'm hopeful for the squat, really, really hopeful. And the thing that makes me super hopeful is just how much the leg accessories have been progressing, especially ones like the belt squat, which have been a staple in my training for, I mean, coming up on a decade. It's been almost 8 years that I've been pushing belt squats, and I hit my first really meaningful PR in this session right here. So you guys can't really see it just because of the angle and the wide angle lens, but this is 10 plates aside for a set of 12. I have never really loaded more than 9 plates. Most of the time, that's usually the heaviest I go, because that usually puts me, or has put me, in that like 8 to 10 rep range. But last week, I did an AMRAP with 9 plates and actually did 20. And not only did I do 20, but I did 20 with probably another 4 to 5 reps in the tank. I had only stopped at 20 because mentally that's what I kind of thought I would cap myself at. Because the previous week I did 20 and it was an all-out grind. So I was like, I got 20 at most. I haven't been feeling as sharp mentally. Energy levels haven't quite been the same since this whole SIBO thing. But we did 10 plates for 12. So when you have movements that you are familiar with that you progress on, that means that you're gaining tissue, right? That means that you're getting stronger, right? It's one thing to get better at a novel movement like you're about to see here with these single leg presses. But to truly get better at something that you've been doing is an incredible sign. But nonetheless, getting better at these single leg presses has been awesome. I've really enjoyed this movement, like way more than I thought I would. And this is one I would really like to keep in going forward. I feel like my glutes and my hip extensors just aren't the strongest. I've always had pretty big quads, but not necessarily super strong adductors or glutes. So I think this will be a good staple movement. And I hope I can continue to train it. So I'm going to wrap up this video just kind of talking about the meet. So my goals for this competition are to qualify for prime time. We're kind of in a weird spot where obviously Will Ball won last year with 930, but I think second place was 900 kilos. Yet the prime time qualifying total is probably going to be like 890 if I had to guess, because there are so many people who have put up 890 plus performances in spite of last year being a gross underperformance by everyone except for Will Ball. So I think we're really going to have to put together a good performance, but I do believe we will be north of 700 on squat, north of 220 on bench press, and really deadlift would just have to be kind of north of 350, which again has been something that I've been capable of as an 83. So we'll ultimately have to see what we are, capable of once we begin to push the main lifts. But my objective for pushing this meet to the end of November is similar to what I did with the game day meet, to come out, put up a total that doesn't exhaust me, train into the meet, but it's going to be challenging. I'm not questioning the fact that putting up 900 kilos is it's no small task, right? But I think it's one where we can do it kind of amidst the rising fitness and immediately jump back into training to prep for nationals. Now, my plan for body weight, I already mentioned that I am 91 kilos, which is 9 kilos up from where I ended Lent. Lent, I was about 82 kilos and started Lent around 87 kilos. And my plan is to continue eating. My plan is to finish this next block, so about 4 weeks from now. And where my body weight will be, I imagine I'll be encroaching on 93 flat. But then what the approach that I will take is actually an inspiration from Matt Venna, is that after we finish this next phase of really pushing the comp lifts and kind of restart in a lighter reintroduction phase of maybe some higher frequencies, I'm going to cut for 2 weeks really aggressively, try to maximize fat loss, keep protein super high, keep activity level high so calories can be as high as possible while cutting. Probably get down to like the upper 80, like 88 range, maybe 89, and then resume the Dreamer bulk into the November meet. And I think that will set me up really nicely to have the best body composition, to put on the most muscle even during prep, and hopefully put up this 900 kilo total. So I appreciate all of you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.